Welcome to Learning Photography with Duck. Here's your host, Duck.
Oh, goodness gracious. I'm losing my mind today. Welcome once again to another edition of Learn Photography with Duck. As always, I am your host, Duck, and today is our Photoshop edition. We have a small group today because a couple of our regulars are out doing the solar eclipse thing. I don't know if you guys got a chance to step outside and do any of that with your cameras. Me personally, I wasn't interested in it. We did have, all right, so the building that I'm in where my photo studio is, there were a bunch of the tenants that went outside and they had, you know, the little paper glasses and they were looking up. Unfortunately, here in Shelton, it was very overcast, lots of clouds. So occasionally we would get a little peek through, but it wasn't, you know, anything to write home about. But one of our tenants actually built a pinhole camera out of a large box. And we actually got to use it and view it, and it was like it worked beautifully. It was awesome, you know. So we had a good time, you know, a little bit of more socializing than viewing, you know, but it was a good time. So I'll be interested to see what Alan and what Bill got from their little trip to photographing. So.
I learned something interesting the other day by fooling around with Photoshop. You
Okay.
probably know it. If you hold Control or depending on what you have on your what the hell they call it, what you use for color, the square with the graph that you move up and down the line. I forget what they call it. But if you hold down the Control and do the curve.
Oh,
curve
okay.
you hold the Control down and you move it, it'll move a lot slower. You could be more fine with it. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, I know with some of the sliders you can do that, but I didn't realize it with the actual curve. Yeah.
With the curve. It takes it about. It's real. You get real fine with it.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, that's
So
awesome. Yeah, yeah,
I was fooling around. I learned something.
yeah. Perfect. Perfect. I'm glad to hear that you're actually experimenting with it. All right. So anyway, because it's just three of us, we can do one of two things. We can move forward with the presentation that I had prepared for you guys today, or we can utilize this time as a Q&A, you know, to answer any particular issues that you may have with Photoshop. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys and see, you know, exactly what you want to do.
We'll give you a free night, slow night, short night. You get back with the wife again.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't matter to me, you know. So
I know, but it's just, you know.
Yeah.
I know you enjoy it, so but.
Yeah.
What do I have? A question.
Well, I do have a question.
Okay.
It's a photography question.
Sure.
So I was out shooting. The big news is I got my car back after 12 weeks. My car was in the shop for 12 weeks getting a new engine.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I was out taking pictures of it over the weekend, and I had both my camera and my phone with me. And I went home and I was playing around afterwards, and so anyway, the question is, I know I can take better pictures with my camera, but when I'm outside, it seems like what I like about my phone is that I guess it's the lens is more wide angle.
Right.
Or they tend to be a wider angle. And then I know another time when it came in handy, I was shooting it, taking pictures of a doctor's office, is examining sleeping rooms, and I had my camera and I happened to have my phone with me. Well, it was a good thing I had my phone because I needed some, real wide architectural
Yes.
digest kind of coverage, which I couldn't get with my camera. But the lens that I have, it says it goes from 18 to 140. So what's the difference then? Because I'm thinking what I like about, and been back to my original one, uh, it's just easier for like taking car shots even sometimes to
Mm-hmm.
use a wider field of vision or angle. So what lens do I want to be getting for my camera to sort of mimic what I've been getting with my phone?
Okay.
Is it, and I guess part of it is why because I thought if you got something that's 18, that's pretty wide, I thought, but I don't know if I'm misunderstanding some of the way the apertures or numbers or all that fits
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. So yeah, you have to understand that you're looking at two different form factors. You're looking at a SLR lens, which is fairly deep, and then a cell phone lens, which is like really really tiny and and flat. So you really can't compare. As far as angle of view, you really can't compare the two. Okay, because if we were to convert the angle of view of a cell phone camera, convert it to what a DSLR camera would be looking at, you're looking at like 2 millimeter optical uh, fisheye. All right. Uh, because and then from that what you would get is a lot of barrel distortion with the bigger lens, whereas you don't get that with the smaller lenses just because of the architecture of the lenses themselves. So yeah, it's you'll never gonna get the same look uh, that you would from a cell phone camera with a regular camera, unfortunately. At
Oh,
least not at those wide looks.
so here's I guess a follow-up question then. So if I were to, while I'm out there, I like taking pictures of landscapes. I notice when I'm outside because I spend, but also, uh, what are uh, what are the photographers for Architectural Digest using? When you're taking pictures of a room and you want to get a lot of the room in
Yep.
there, like what I was just telling you about, because I know that, and there must be, and then there's a further on question of, does Photoshop have ways of, I guess it does, of fixing the wide angle aberration that kind of comes into play?
Yeah.
And
So
so if I were thinking in terms of like, I know that Architectural Digest and just, home and garden kind of magazines, they don't use phones, but they have, so what kind of lenses are they using?
so I have a good friend who does architectural photography, and his work has been published in architectural magazines. And I can tell you, he uses a 17 millimeter tilt shift lens. And
What's tilt shift mean?
so, here I
Oh, you've
can,
shown us that. Okay.
yeah, I'll show you. Hold on. Because I use a tilt shift lens for a lot of my product stuff. So this is a tilt shift lens, okay, and it's got a few features. And what this is designed to do is it's designed to mimic what you would get with like a large format bellows camera, where you can angle
Right.
the front and rear elements. Right. Unfortunately, this is a little bit more limited than a true bellows lens, but this allows me to, let me just make sure that the locks are loose. It allows me to angle the lens, okay, and you can see it only has a, what is it? It's like about a 9 9-degree tilt either way. So about 18 degrees total tilt. All right, up and down. Okay. But for the most part, that's all we need. Okay. And there's a ring that allows this to rotate on the camera. So that way we can actually change the angle based on what kind of effect we want. All right. So that's the tilt. All right. That's the tilt. Okay. And then we have a shift. I don't know if we'll be able to see it properly here. Actually, I'll do it this way. Or we can shift the lens up and down. All right.
Okay.
So what all this does is the projection, the circle of projection from the lens onto the camera sensor, okay, by moving this up and down, or actually it would be stuck to the camera and the lens would move up and down. All that does is it moves the circle up and down on the projection. Okay. So what that means is we can, instead of shooting upward to get the full building, we can keep the lens like this, all right, which now will cut off the top of the building, but we can now shift the lens up and we'll now get the top of the building without having to tilt it up. Okay.
Okay.
And the tilt aspect allows us to, if we are tilted up, okay, we can tilt this to kind of correct for that discrepancy. Okay. There's a term for it. I'll probably slaughter the pronunciation. It's Schumflog effect or something like that. There's all kinds of calculations. I just do it by eye. All right. So what this allows a architectural photographer to do is now they can position the camera low, all right, usually about belly button level or so, okay? And instead of tilting up in order to get the full room, they can just use the shift aspects of the lens to correct for any errors in the composition, okay? And because of that, they can get rid of that typical keystoning that happens when you use a normal lens. All right. So it avoids a lot of the problems that you would get with a normal lens, like either a prime or a zoom lens, because in order to get that view, you have to angle the camera. All right. So right off the bat, that makes editing a little bit easier. Okay. The other thing that the shift can do is, if you can maintain the camera level, all right, or even if you're at a bit of an angle and you can correct for that a little bit with the tilt, okay, you put the shift on a side to side, and now you can do a panorama without moving the camera. Okay. So now you can get a slightly wider field of view than you would with a normal zoom or a prime. Okay. So, but the one thing, that I did notice is he doesn't pay attention to the limitations of the lens. He works with any limitation of the lens. So what he'll do is he'll pick angles of view into a space that best work with the gear that he's got. And like I said, he's got a 17 millimeter lens. all right, and he uses a lot of light. He brings lights with him, so he'll light a space accordingly, so there are no dark shadow corners and things like that. And if the space is not wide enough, you just do a little bit of a stitch and composite two images together, do a panel.
Yeah.
But he's got to be careful how he does the panel, because you don't want too much of that barrel distortion. All right. Now, that being said, all right, you really can't discredit a cell phone camera. All right. The problem is you have to pay attention to what the end use is going to be for the photograph, and can you use a cell phone for that end use? Okay. So a lot of modern cell phone cameras nowadays will shoot raw. All right. So if you got that capability, you shoot in raw, and you have all the power of raw processing on a cell phone. The only problem is you're working with a sensor size that is 1/4 of an inch. Okay. That, in combination with the lens, all right, you're not going to get the same visual look that you would with a prime lens or even a zoom lens. Okay. As you know, most cell phone cameras don't have a shallow depth of field. They have a very deep depth of field, simply because of the way the lenses are constructed. So that actually tends to work really, really well with architectural photography. Okay. But if you're going to be printing large, you're going to suffer in detail. Simply because a 1/4 inch sensor is not going to have the capability of capturing that fine detail that a larger sensor would. But if all you're doing is photographing for internet use, cell phone's fine. You can use it,
And that's kind of the argument I go through, because I'm not professional, so even if I print, I'm not going to be to sell it or art, and a lot of my work is, say, for the net, so that's an argument I go through. Do I spend some good coin on the best smartphone I can get with a good camera, which runs about $1,000 these days,
right?
Which is about the same. I'm guessing maybe even I'd need more to get a lens that would start to, that I can put on my camera, Yeah, that's what and
Yeah.
it really came about, like I said the other day, I was shooting with both and wondering what would be better, but because I have shot raw on my phone, but like you say, I come to find out I have a Samsung,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of proprietary raw, which turns out
All raw, all raw files are proprietary. Nikon is proprietary, Canon is proprietary.
Okay, well, what that means is, I was playing around. This is the time when I first got Topaz. Then Topaz and Samsung RAW didn't play well.
Right. Yeah.
But
Well, that has to do with the licensing issue between the software company and the the manufacturer.
But really, the other thing I've learned from that, because I use my phone, and I've been playing around with Lightroom on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And for some things, it's really neat. It's I'm liking it better than Snapseed. But as soon as you try and do something like layer masking, or that kind of stuff, because you got this big fat finger, and you're looking at a screen that small, and you don't know if it looks good or not. And, but quick, some stuff, it's for knocking stuff out. It was pretty good.
Yeah, for pushing sliders, it's perfect. But yeah, you're right. Doing the finer work, it's still not there. But you know what I would suggest is depending on your need. I mean, if you really don't have a pressing need to go out and buy any, exclusive hardware to take these photos, take the camera you have and experiment with it and see what you can pull from it with what you got. Play around. Obviously, you can't use flash with a cell phone. There's no way of really, linking it to a trigger, but if you have some continuous lights that you can throw up somewhere to, brighten up some dark corners, or experiment with the HDR feature of your phone, that might work as well, you know. But what I would suggest you do is get a little, one of those little clamps that allow you to put it on a tripod, and yeah. And of course, you need to follow the same exact procedures that you would with a large camera. You would do it with the small one. So make sure that it's nice and parallel, because if you angle it up, you're going to get the keystoning. If you angle it down, you're going to get the keystoning. So as level as possible. All right. And of course, the camera would really be typically about belly button level is a good level for architectural photography indoors. And yeah.
I'm learning about the whole thing about, RAW versus my phone, which is that I'm thinking that because I'm now learning how to know how to shoot RAW, that I can have more to work with, and I can just blow it up to get what I want, and that's easier to work with.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm kind of at the point where if I take something with my phone and I don't have any intention of working with it on my desktop, I guess that's kind of my criteria. Am I going to want to bring this into Lightroom or Photoshop? Then if the answer is yes, then I'll want to use my real camera. I guess
No. Let's say you want to use, some of these interior photos that you take with a cell phone. You want to use it for a website. Go ahead and bring it into your desktop so you can edit it full size I see it right. And really, that way you can see exactly where some problems are. Because as you know, working on this tiny little screen, this hides a lot of the flaws. All right, especially anything that's blurry, anything that's not, any fine detail gets lost. You're not gonna notice it on this form factor. But as soon as you bring it in and you put it up on a large screen, that'll be the litmus test, because you can say, "Ooh, yeah, they look good on my cell phone, but I can't send this to a client," So I'd rather you find out beforehand rather than send it out to a client and the client comes screaming back at you and you go, "What? It looked good on my cell phone." That would be embarrassing.
I've been taking both with me, as like
Yeah.
double up just in case.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. That's a smart idea. The other thing is practice shooting panoramas, because that's a great way of being able to get a wider perspective of an interior space.
In fact, I was looking through some old photographs. I used to really like panoramas, making them. But I remember back then, it seemed like there was always some sort of stitching software that was really handy, and I've lost it. I just haven't gotten back into the process of making them, or and doing that. But it's
you have the software. Lightroom does it, and Photoshop does it.
No, I'm not. I'm saying I know they do it. It's just okay, Brian. That's your list of things to do.
You know, it's funny because when I do event photography, I do a lot of events for businesses that are doing like ribbon cuttings and grand openings and things like that. It seems like I'm doing them once or twice a week, and I've gotten into the habit of shooting a lot of panoramas while I am there, simply because the panorama gives you a lot more information than just a single frame shot. Especially, you know, when you are indoors in some of these offices that are very tight. Now, the thing is, sometimes I'll go extra wide. I'll do, you know, 4 or 5 frames across. And then when you stitch it together, it's an obvious curve, you know.
Yeah.
That probably would not be something that I would recommend you use. But, you know, even just stitching 2 images together, just to get a slightly wider perspective for what your needs, you know, that might be the solution for you, you know.
Actually, what you just mentioned, I've done that before on our the sleep doctor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Homeowner doctor.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what I did for him, the hero of his office is this kind of panorama that fades in and out, and it's intended to look panoramic, you know.
Right.
For the effect
Yeah.
you're going for. So.
Yeah, and you know, if since you're a web developer, you know, you could always sell them on the 360.
Yep.
You know, and sell them on the service, and you just shoot 360s. Most 360s are shot with like an 8mm fisheye, and then stitched together.
That's another interesting thing. I've got one of these. It's called 0-360. It was a special lens you put on your camera, and it was designed to shoot 360-degree pictures. And it's almost 20 years old now.
Oh, is that the one where you have to lay the camera on its back pointing straight up?
That might be it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it.
And it kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Hawaii with me that's what I remember the year.
Yeah, I remember when Google Maps was first playing around with the what was it? Google Sphere, I think they used to call it.
Yeah.
Where, you know, you can take these virtual tours with the 360 camera. They said to get an 8mm fisheye lens, and you put it on a tripod that has a pano head. All right, the panoramic head allows you to spin it without, you know, without losing the angle. And they said you take 4 shots, north, south, east, and west. All right, and the angle of view is so wide that it allows for an overlap. Okay, and if you can, point it straight up, and then you literally get this almost complete globe of an image, and you stitch it together, and you can view it through Google Earth. You know, now you go on Google, you see those 360s all over the place. You know,
right.
People are doing them with their cell phone now. You know,
right. Yes.
So you can throw it on with the auto stitching, and then you just basically do this. Yeah. Ta-da! Done. And uploaded. You know.
Yeah.
So.
It's odd. I guess that's another thing, is to get back to my pano techniques and doing that, because I used to really like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I used to get them on the point and shoot cameras when they were panos. I think they would sell little pano cameras or pano mode.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, that was a little switch, but it made this little tiny negative.
Yeah.
But they were fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I won't go out and buy anything, you know, specific for your needs. Take what you got, experiment, All right. And then at that point, if you say, you know what, I want to be able to give my clients a little bit of a higher quality than what I'm getting. At that point, then yeah, you might want to consider jumping up a notch. But I
Well,
don't
in
see
that
why.
situation, if my clients need something of a higher quality, I call Duck.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have the right lens for some of these architectural shots. I I almost once bought a 24 mil or 17 millimeter tilt shift, but I talked myself out of it because I'm like, when am I ever going to use this? You know, that was almost $1,500. That, you know, it just
Yeah.
didn't make any sense. It would be nice to have, but no. So yeah, that would excuse me. That would be my recommendation. Is just use the cell phone, see what it can do. Okay, Bob, you had something?
I haven't done much shooting in the last month or so. I had some surgery and a little incapacitated, but no, just that one trick I wanted to tell you. That's all.
Oh, okay.
I figured that one out. It
All
works
right,
well.
all right, awesome. Well, you know, you can always set up a nice little home studio and shoot macro and abstract and all kinds of good stuff. You know.
I can't get enough time with the computer. She hogs the computer room.
So you got to wait till she goes to sleep and then you jump on it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I started scanning a lot of the old photos and I'm getting pretty good at it. Getting pretty good at cleaning them up and sharpening them up. And
Oh, good. Good,
so
good, good.
that's been my maybe 1,000 old prints I'm sharpening up.
Wow.
1,000?
That's a lot. That's a workload.
Well, you know, you do 5 here.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I do. And then I did a video for my grandson for his wedding, and embarrassed the shit out of him.
There you go. That's what those photos are for, right? That's where you go, all right, I know I got one of those bathtub shots somewhere, you know. Yeah.
I have one at the hatchway where he's jumping up and down and making all kinds of noise. Then jumps off and jumps on his sister, knocks his sister over.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Goodness. Yeah.
He cringes in the corner.
Yep. Yep. That's it. You know, if we can't embarrass our kids, you know, then what good are kids? Although now it's the grandkids, right?
Right, that's what it is.
That's it. You know, that's where, you know, at this point, it's you call the grandkid over and it says, let me tell you what your father used to do.
A couple of those too.
Yep, that's it.
Those, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So, all right. Any
I got Photoshop down where I can use the layers. That was really
okay.
artistic.
All right.
Understand.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
Now.
I was just going to ask you if in your little workflow there, if you were running into any snags.
No, I'm getting there.
Okay.
I'm getting there between Lightroom and that. I use a lot of Lightroom rather than Photoshop.
Oh yeah, no, Lightroom is a workhorse. Yeah,
it's getting real good now.
absolutely. Yeah. So I have a high school student that I'm working with through a one of those they call it a what's that?
A mentor.
Yeah, it's a mentorship program. It's kind of like a mini intern. They call it a mini internship, And what they do is they take a high school student and they place them in different businesses, businesses that they are interested in. And I have this young girl who's interested in photography, and let me tell you, she's a bit of a whip cracker, and quite sharp. And I put her I put her under fire. I actually took her to a ribbon cutting with me. I gave her one of my cameras. I showed her how to use it, and I pretty much let her loose, and she got some good shots. I was pretty impressed. So today what we did is we went over the workflow of how to process all those images after the fact, and she was pretty sharp, in picking out the keepers and determining, what kind of edits, and we went through, it was about 30 images that she selected at the end, and we processed them all. And part of the discussion was, how the majority of the work that I do all gets edited in Lightroom nowadays, because Lightroom is so powerful. It never used to be that way. It used to be I would only get to a certain level, and then I had to open up the images in Photoshop. So yeah, I hear you when you said, the majority of the work is done right in Lightroom. Love it.
So what happened with me, Duck, when I first started sitting in with your sessions, I still had Photoshop that you could buy on the CD.
Yeah.
I think it was, the last version that you could buy without a subscription. And the only reason I got the Lightroom with the subscription when I went that way was because it came with it.
Mm-hmm.
That was, you couldn't get Photoshop by itself. Okay, it comes with it,
Right.
But I'm like Bob now. I get in, sometimes I get into Photoshop and I go, I know what I want to do here, but boy, it's a whole lot easier in Lightroom.
Yes. Yeah.
Those sliders, you get hooked on those little guys,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do a couple times. I wish they could do this in photo.
Yeah. Do you guys get the so Adobe every once in a while will send out a survey form, and it seems like you get those?
No, not really, no.
No? I don't know, maybe because I keep filling them out, they keep sending them to me, but it's like this past month I got 3 of them. They're all the same. They're all the same questions. It's like, but you can tell they're slightly formatted a little bit differently. So I'm curious if they have like different companies handling these for them. And it's like, but the reason I bring that up is because some of the questions they ask are, would you be interested in seeing this feature? And it always, I always found it interesting, kind of getting not quite a full preview of what they're working on, but little hints and pieces of what they're working on. And when you do enough of these over time, it paints an even bigger picture. And let me tell you, a lot of the questions lately has been based around mobile devices. Mobile devices. If we developed, an app, if we developed Lightroom to be able to work off of your cell phone, would you be interested in using it? Or what is the likelihood that you would use it, and things like that. So Photoshop and Lightroom for tablets, for iPhones, is really, they're really pushing that. They're or not pushing it. They're really looking for feedback on those platforms.
Because everybody has a phone.
I guess everybody has a phone, yeah. And if you look at the younger generation, they're using phones for content creation on YouTube. These kids are filming videos on cell phones. They're making music on cell phones. They're, everything revolves around their cell phone. So, you know, I wouldn't say I'm a purist, but, looking at things with a commercial photographer's eye, I can't see myself using something like this to do commercial work just because it's not practical. But, for, I guess the best way I can describe it is for disposable images, something, because the content creators, they're creating, well, the term is consumable media, all right, which has a very short shelf life.
What you consume it, you dispose of it.
Exactly.
You're right
So,
the first time.
yeah, so for that purpose, I can see why they would be moving to something like this. But for legit work that has substance, that has longevity, I can't see it, But it's
I got the buck value. There's 40 billion, 100 billion phones out there. If I can sucker on this and I can make X amount of dollars on one, even the billions of dollars out there that they're trying to get after. The commercial they already have. They suck it in. They got us. But now they're looking to expand and make more money somewhere else.
yeah. Well, I don't think that's the motivator.
No.
I think the motivator is, what is the community requesting, and the community, especially the creator community is very mobile. They're very, the young kids. The majority of them are young kids. They're very mobile. They're very athletic. They're really out there, taking content to the streets. So they require something that, for example, a film studio doesn't need. If your channel is all about skateboarding, guess what? This is going to be your go-to. All right, because you're not going to be skateboarding with a big, huge, clunky video camera, and a 4K monitor and a Rode microphone on a boom stand. It's just impractical, So, that's why I think they see a need. And yeah, obviously there's a monetary, incentive, obviously. But, if you ever seen the old DreamWorks movie Robots, see a need, fill a need, that's pretty much what they're doing. They say, hey, we got all these content creators that are working remotely, they're working mobilely, they need the tools. They're going to, all these little, apps that, for the most part, apps tend to be a one-trick pony for the most part. And it says, hey, let's create something and keep it all within our ecosystem, and the thing is, in a way, I think they're doing it in a little bit of a smart way. Because what they're doing is they're bundling some of these tools with the bundles that are already available to us, So Photoshop for the web, their current version is available to us right now through our subscription program. All right. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but if you subscribe to the photography package, which comes with, Photoshop, Lightroom Classic, Lightroom for the web, they now have Photoshop for the web. So once they, get these others, it's going to be bundled in. So you'll have access to these just like anybody else. And, what that's going to do is it's going to bring these younger kids who are initially attracted to maybe the web version and say, okay, this is what I can do remotely, but I also have access to, the full feature. And, maybe they'll grow into those as well. You never know, So I think they're doing it the smart way. So anyway, that's my take, at least. Who knows? Maybe.
Doc, I'm not. That's really, when you go back to my original question about shooting on the phone, and that part of what I do is play around with Lightroom on my phone just to see what's going on and keep relevant, and how can I use that in my work. And I learned a couple new things on there that I didn't know about, or I need to explore. But
Yeah. Well, if we really look at it practically, all right, how many of you walk around with a large DSLR strapped to you?
No.
I don't. All right. As a matter of fact, I got to the point where all my cameras sit here in my studio. I don't even bother taking them home anymore, But what does travel with me everywhere I go? This friggin' thing. Everywhere. So yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense, And I do take pictures with this. Nothing, obviously important. But sometimes I need to document something. I need to, photograph a concept, an idea, location scouting. This is awesome for location scouting. I'll take a couple quick pics, and the nice thing is, this has an ecosystem that is very convenient. Everything I photograph with this gets uploaded to the cloud, so I can access all the photos that I take with this from my home computer and from the work computer, and without me doing anything. It's like automatic, so it's hard to beat that kind of functionality, that kind of accessibility in this tiny little tool. So, don't fight it. Go with it.
When you say it gets uploaded automatically, are you a Apple or an Android kind of person?
I am an Android person.
So
I
get automatically uploaded to your Photos Google account?
Correct.
And all
Correct. Yeah. And if you're a Mac person, it goes to your to the Mac cloud, your Mac account. So they all do it. They all do it.
Yeah. Well, I guess I had issues sometimes with getting up there, and then also I had some settings on my computer or on my phone to upload to back everything up to SmugMug as well.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of my issue before I figured all that out. Was you got something on your phone and you want to get it on your desktop? What's the easy workflow to get that done without?
Right.
So that's been okay.
Yep. So, but because I really don't do, none of my pro work is done with this. I don't bother taking raw photos. They're all just JPEGs.
JPEGs.
Yeah. So
That's
I'm
the
not.
question. If you're in Photoshop, does it come back out as a TIFF, or can you send it out as a RAW? Is there a big difference between a TIFF and a RAW?
Okay. There is a difference. A raw file is pure data. All right, just ones and zeros. Okay. And the way the raw file is structured, it allows you a lot of flexibility to move those ones and zeros around. Okay. Once it's converted to a format other than raw, it becomes a lot harder to manipulate those ones and zeros because they've been converted to a color profile. And now you have to work within the limits of that color profile. All right. So from raw, the next step down would be a TIFF file. So whenever you go from raw into Photoshop, it creates a TIFF file. All right. That's going to give you, that's going to give you the most amount of flexibility. Okay. But it also depends on what bit rate you open up that TIFF file with. So cameras operate at about 14 bits. Okay, it's not a true 16-bit camera. It's like 14.2, whatever the math works out to. All right. So when you open it up, you can have it open up in one of two defaults. So you can open it up as a 16-bit format or as an 8-bit format. Okay, so the 8-bit format works best for presenting images to the web. However, it's the lowest version of the color space that you can operate in. So now when you're manipulating the colors and you're manipulating the brightness, you have a very narrow spectrum of movement for all that data. Whereas if you're working with 16-bit, you have a lot more flexibility of manipulating, that data. Okay. So what I often say is if you are looking to really create high-end stuff, work in 16-bit and then downsample to 8-bit as needed, because then what it does is whatever you manipulate it to, it'll convert that to its equivalent in 8-bit, all right? Rather than working in 8-bit and forcing everything, so you're kind of forcing things into buckets in 8-bit, where with 16-bit you have, a multitude of muffin pans, all right? So you can work in more minute little chunks of information, okay? Of course, if you really want to get into it, you can always work in 32-bit if your machine can handle it. And that handles color in a totally different way, okay? But just realize that nothing in our architecture really shows off 32-bit images to its full capabilities. Everything's still downsampled to 8-bit, But what it is, it's the underlying infrastructure to the file in the ways that you can manipulate the data that is not available in the lower bit rates. That's the key. So I usually say, work in 16-bit and then downsample, right? I think I have mine set up so that when I export from Lightroom into Photoshop, it sends it across as a 16-bit. So that way I know I'm working, not necessarily the highest, but I have all this flexibility for getting colors to do what I want in the program. You say, okay, well, 8-bit, you got what, 16 million colors? That's a lot of colors, but hey, but when you go to 16-bit, and you realize that you have somewhat millions of colors. You know, it's that data, it's those bits in between that really makes a difference, especially in, you know, creating smoother transitions, smoother gradients, and rather than get the banding and the stair stepping that, you know, is very prevalent with 8-bit. So minor details. You know, but it's interesting because you know, it's something that we normally don't think about, what's happening underneath in the architecture. We just kind of respond to what our eyes are seeing on the screen, you know, and we look at the screen and goes, oh, that looks great. You know, it's not until you print it out, then you go, ooh, you know, something's missing here.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, and that's the other thing. Printing is becoming anachronistic. You know, who prints nowadays? You know, I try to print occasionally. I like putting stuff up on my wall for me to look at, you know, but I don't do it nearly as often as I should. You know, I don't know, changing times, you know. You know, some people say, yeah, I wonder what's going to happen to all my images once I pass away. You know, is anybody going to even look at them?
That's why who cares?
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, sadly, I mean, so just my personal, excuse me, just my personal history. Okay. I was born and raised in Central America, 1964. Okay. In 1972, an earthquake totally destroyed the city that I was born in, and my family then migrated to the United States, where my grandparents live here in Connecticut. Through all that destruction, we were able to save a lot of the prints that were hanging up on the walls. And we were able to preserve some family history in that manner. Imagine if all you had were digital files, they would be gone. All that history would be gone. You know, and we had photos of great grandparents when they were little. You know, photos taken in the 1800s. You know, that were in these gilded frames with the bubbled glass, the whole, you know, really antique stuff, you know. And my mother still has those. The images are literally over 100 years old now, and she still has those. And they're going to get passed down. You know, my father passed away when I was 4. We don't have very many surviving photographs, but the few that we do have, we cherish, because there's no way of replacing any of that. You know, so we've lost, you know, so much history going to digital files because we're not printing them. You know, because we've gotten into this mentality that, you know, just take another one. You know. But I mean, just my in-laws, you know, they passed away in the early 2000s. Okay. And I was able to take some photographs of them. I printed them for the family. Nobody looks at those digital files. They're buried somewhere in one of my backup hard drives, who knows where. But the prints that I made are sitting on counters and hanging on walls. You know, and it's a shame that we don't do more of it. That's why I kind of, I mentioned, take some time and put it together. Put it together in a little magazine. Brian put together a great little book of all his animal shots, you know. Imagine doing that with a lot of your family photos. What a keepsake that would be, you know? And the nice thing is, because the technology today, we have print on demand. You didn't even have to buy them for your family and friends. They can order, for themselves. So all you got to do is put it together and let them incur the cost of buying the book and having it shipped to them. But what a keepsake that is, you know? So anyway, that's my soapbox about printing. And that's a project for you, Bob, with all these photos that you're scanning. Uh, put that as a little side note for yourself. Make a little book.
I have some stuff of my mother-in-law from Germany around the turn of the century.
Mm-hmm.
She has those, and some of my own grandparents, and they're from
Yeah.
the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
On a farm that they're from Poland. They were from Poland, and they have some prints that are just so old. Those I have to scan. I haven't got to those yet.
Yeah.
Those I should probably scan first.
Yeah, there you go. Let me tell you, my mother-in-law was a sweetheart. If she wasn't, I won't be scanning them. Shh, don't tell the wife. No, she knows. She knows. I loved my mother-in-law. She was, oh my God, she was such a great lady. She really was. She's probably the only reason I married my wife. No, thank God Diane doesn't watch these. I heard what you said. No.
Another one was all of a sudden speaking to me German, and I was speaking to Dutch, and she back to English.
Yeah, my grandmother on my father's side was Irish. And
really?
Yeah, so she'd been in the States since she was a little girl, so she really didn't have that heavy Irish accent unless she got pissed off at you. If she got mad at you, oh my goodness, suddenly the Irish brogue comes out. Charlie William United, get your ass in here. I can't do an Irish accent, but the accent would come out really, really strong suddenly. It's like that's when you knew you were in trouble.
Well, I found something out talking to a person that, the person that speaks. I asked him why my mother-in-law came over from Germany in 38.
Mm-hmm.
And she died 10 years ago. And she was almost 100.
Wow.
And she still spoke with a German accent.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, if they speak their native tongue, they never get rid of their German.
Yes.
Or the native, not just German, but any native tongue. They won't get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Spanish, German, French. They won't get rid of it because they talk it all the time. I always wondered that. She says that's why.
Yeah. And it's funny because English is my second language. And the reason I really don't have a strong accent is because my mother worked very, very hard at correcting my English, which actually minimized my accent. I used to really butcher some words, and she would always be correcting me, But my grandmother, on the other hand, she was stubborn. Everything was Spanish. Everything was Spanish. She knew how to speak English, trust me, but she didn't want to. She hid behind her Spanish, even when we were out. But hey, that was old school, But when I was younger, people would say, I detect a little accent in you. What is it? you know, and I'd have to tell him I'm Spanish. You are? You don't look Spanish. Yeah, you can thank my father for that. I took after the my paternal side, pasty white skins, you know.
Well,
So
well, it was a good conversation tonight.
yeah.
Hey, back to what you said about printing photos or printing pictures.
Mm-hmm.
We just did some decorating around the house, some bathrooms and stuff. And so what I'm going to do, I've had some photos on the wall, but they're not my work. So I got 8 pictures that I want to go back through my collection and put them on my own wall and start looking at them, and then get back to my office wall here, which, yeah, so I'm of the same mind you. I'm going to, can't beat the print.
Yeah. You know, one of the nice things that you can do for areas of the house like the bathroom is create a set, you know, of images that have some kind of cohesive theme. Like, for example, one of the earliest sets that I did for myself that is actually still hanging in my living room were flowers that my wife planted in the front of the house. When it came into bloom, I photographed some of the prettier ones, and I photographed some bees and things like that. And I made I think it's like 4 images, different sizes, but and different themes. Flowers, bugs, things like that. But they have the overall theme of garden. So for your bathroom, pick a theme and generate, 2, 3 images and get them printed and hung up.
And I thought even further what I could do is, we could tint the pictures or work the pictures so they really match the new
Color,
walls.
yep. Color graded to match.
So
Absolutely.
color grading, and that's been on my mind. So that's, now that this is
Yeah.
done, I'm gonna.
And the nice thing is you can get very artsy fartsy with those images, and use textured overlays and all kinds of good stuff. Yeah. And you can get whimsical with the images. If you ever notice the images that they sell at like Bed Bath and Beyond and Walmart in the bathroom section, they're all very whimsical or flowery, or sometimes even pretty abstract, but whimsy sells, in the stores. So if you can get something whimsical for your bathroom, go for it,
Well, I guess that means I'm going to get rid of my little. I've got a picture of a kid. He's about 18 months old, and he's pissing up into a toilet that's higher than me. His hand on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Inspires me every morning, but he's got to go.
When you send things out, when you send things out to be printed, do you have to know the profile? Is there anything special that you have to set up?
It used to be. All right. The thing is, as these things became more popular, and as more and more amateur photographers got involved in printing, a lot of these big print houses came to the realization that, hey, these people aren't going to follow the rules. All right. They're just going to send us their files, and it's up to us to, color manage it. So what happened is, over time, the software we run their presses have gotten to the point where they understand RGB. Yeah. So what I normally suggest, okay, is usually there's somewhere close to your house you have a CVS or Walgreens or Walmart, Costco that prints, that has the 1-hour prints. Their prints are like ridiculously cheap. All right. They're not the best quality, but what I would do is print out a test print. All right. Usually I like to do my test prints at 8 by 10s.
Yes.
You know, I'm paying $3, $3.50, whatever it is. I can easily, you know, afford $3.50. All right. But you don't even need 8 by 10s. You can do 5 by 7s. Because what you're going to look for is you're going to look for your black and white points and look at the contrast. All right. Because that's probably going to be the biggest issue when you send your files out. You want to make sure that your black points and white points are properly set. And what I mean by this is you don't, you know, on the screen, black pixels are going to be 100% black. Okay. But when you print, you want those to be about 90%. All right, 90%. So no, you're not going to lose the detail. What you're going to do is, so yeah, exactly. So you don't lose the detail, right? Because what happens is when it prints tend to be printed a little bit darker than normal. So what happens is any dark pixels are automatically going to go darker to black. So if you have a lot of black, you're just going to get more black. But if you tone that black back, by the time it prints to black, everything else will match up accordingly. Okay? And the same way goes with the white. You don't want to be too white. All right, because then what happens is you get these, you know, crazy highlights, because a highlight is nothing more than the paper that you're printing on. Right. So what you want is you want, you know, the whites, you want some tonality in there, you know, usually anywhere between 5 and 10% gray. So that way it tones down that white. It's not really reflecting back.
You adjusting your histogram?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. You know, and then at that point, go ahead and do a test print at Walmart, at Costco, wherever. All right. You get the print back, and, you know, with a magnifying glass, take a look at it. And you'll be able to see the density of these areas, the white areas, the black areas, and then you can judge it from there. You know, but a word of warning, obviously, remember the quality of these prints are going to be a little less than what you're going to get from a professional house. All right. And the nice thing about a professional house, or even if you go to like Milford Photo, you know, you have a wide selection of papers that you can print on. Yeah. So you have, so you have, you know, textures, you have coatings, different, you know, reflectance of the paper. Yes. You know, and you can even get cream coats where, you know, instead of white, it's, you know, this nice warm cream color, which is beautiful for black and white images. Oh my God, you know.
It's almost in a
sepia, yes. Yeah.
That's the painting term I was trying to figure out.
Absolutely.
I've been out of that for 20 years now. So
yeah. So that would be my suggestion. You know, run some test prints, you know, before you set it out. That way you get a visual feedback as to, you know, where you need to manipulate your black and white points. And it's only by a few points that you need to manipulate it. So, okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Okay. Next week is Q&A. Again, yeah. No, it's all right.
Is it?
Yeah.
Did I miss last week?
Last week was Lightroom.
Okay, I remember.
Yeah.
You're getting old.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
All every day I got up, I thought it was Saturday. And then Saturday rolls around, I got up, I thought it was Sunday.
Monday.
Oh yeah, I've had those days. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I had that week.
uh, yeah, that's funny. So, but anyway, um, so the other thing I wanted to mention is I had mentioned it a while back that I was working on some new course materials.
Yeah.
I kind of been working sporadically across the board, so I don't have any one module finished yet. I promised myself that I would finish one module and present it to the group to get your feedback on it. So I gotta get that together for you guys, and it'll be something that you can do from the house. So Bob, no excuses. You can do it from the house.
Okay. I have another question. You sent it out. You sent it out at 150.
No, I usually send it out at 300. Yeah.
Okay.
Most commercial printers print around 240. So 300 is a little bit overkill, but hey, they can downscale it.
Downscale
Yeah.
automatically with the machine.
Yeah.
Does it matter on the size? What you send it out?
I send it out the biggest I can get because the pixel size. If you're curious about what your image can do, just open it up in Photoshop and you can look at the file size there, and it will actually, you can actually calculate just in the little pop-up window for canvas size, so it'll, just go, if it's to pixels, just go ahead and there's a little drop down, just drop it down 2 inches and it'll give you the inches, so 4,000, 5,000 pixels, you can get a 22-inch print from that very easily. So I won't worry too much.
Well, I have a couple when I want to put some. I had some scenes that I taken in Alaska that really go good. It was a little bit bigger than 8 by 10.
Yeah.
We got a wall that I like to put our travels. Alaska, Europe, and just all over. Just a lot.
11 by 14 or 11 by 17. There you go.
Yeah.
Poster size.
Here's another idea for what you just mentioned, Bob. I got this idea from a friend of mine. His job took him around the world, and he had a lot of pictures. And what he did was he ended up printing them on canvas.
Mm-hmm.
And what he did, his idea is sign up for a couple of these canvas companies and have your photos ready and just wait for a sale.
Oh yeah,
they have these ridiculous sales, and I took advantage of that when I was, what you were just talking about before. I was just doing that last year. I took a bunch of stuff down to Milford Photo and was trying this kind of paper and that kind of paper and that type of thing. But I also sent a few things out to a couple different these canvas print, to see whether these kind of photos would look good on there.
Mm-hmm.
But, he had some that were, the really big ones. He had some Chinese, some junk or something from Thailand, one of those kind of things. But and I guess when you're printing on canvas, they're a little more forgiving when you're, printing that big, I think.
You don't have the spot. You don't have the reflection that the paper gives you. You can't see the dots, so it doesn't look sharp.
Yeah. So if it's the right kind of photo, it might be a way to go.
Yeah, we just fool around.
Yeah.
At 85, I'm not going to leave it. My son says, only give me enough to bury you, but I says, that's already paid for, so spend it.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Now that you are mentioning printing, something came through my feed. Let me go ahead and share this. Let me pull this up. let me go ahead and share this with you guys. I thought this was a pretty clever idea. All right, share and desktop. Okay, so what this person does, they are a retail photographer, so they do some family stuff. And what he does is he entices his clients to buy prints. So what he'll do is he'll print out a few things and then he'll put it up on a display so that when they look at it, they're actually seeing prints, and it just kind of enhances the desire to buy the prints. But he said, there's a problem with this system, that between clients, this rack just kind of sits there empty. So what he decided to do was print out a bunch of his own photos. So now he has something to look at on a daily basis. Nothing's framed. It's all just they're 5x7s in an 8x10 mat. Okay. And he says he's got about 60 images that are printed out. And obviously this particular rack only shows 5, 10, 15, 20 of them. Okay. So all the others are kind of stacked behind. And the nice thing is, every once in a while, he switches them. Yeah. All right. And what happens is, as people come into his studio, they can see his work. And if they want to buy any of these prints, they're more than welcome to. So it became kind of a little bit of a marketing thing, but more importantly, a great way of really displaying his work in a very organic way that can ebb and flow according to your mood. And I thought this was such a great idea. So I figure I'd share it with you now, since we're talking about printing. These are IKEA shelves that he put up, and if you have a blank section in your house, you don't need heavy duty shelves. You just get some, and not even deep shelves. You can get some very narrow shelves, space them out enough for you to be able to put some 8x10s in there, and maybe you have 2 shelves or 3 shelves. So instead of 20 images, maybe you got 9 images. 3 rows of 3, and then you just swap them around.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
I have a wall like that.
And the nice thing is, it's very inexpensive because, again, you're not printing large, and you can get the pre-cut mats, for pennies on the dollar at any craft store, or buy it from Amazon. You can buy them, fairly expensive for a package of, 10 of them, So anyway, I thought that was a clever idea, and, I thought I'd share it with you guys.
Well, here's why this is such a clever idea for me. In my office that I'm staring at here, the way I have about a 12-foot wall, goes about 5.5 feet up.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little ledge about 6 inches, and I have pictures sitting on it. But I've been thinking what to do with that wall, and had 4 or 5 different ideas, and one of them was similar to that, but that would be really nice and easy, just to have them nice and stacked, and then you could change them out. Because part of what I do is this analysis paralysis. What picture should I put up there?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that really attracted me to that system, is that you don't, once you print it and mat it, that becomes part of your permanent collection. As you get more, new images, you just print those out and put those into new mats and just keep stacking on top, and every so often you just kind of, swap them around. play around with little themes. Maybe one month you're in a black and white mood and you put all the black and whites in the front. You know, maybe you got one of all sunsets, or you know, the world's your oyster with these. You know, you have one row of sunsets, one row of, you know, deep shadows, and one row of, you know, starry skies. You know.
I like that idea of the cheap, and you can, I imagine those simple little mats, you can get them one size larger or different.
Oh yeah, they come in standard
Yeah.
sizes. So yeah, you know, and the example that that was sent to me, those are, he said, those are all 5x7s.
Right.
Okay, so what's nice about that? What's nice about that is it invites you to come in and take a personal look at the images, where something larger, you kind of have to step back to view them. You know, these smaller size, and because they're loose, they're not, you know, hanging on a wall in a frame. Again, it also invites you to pick them up and study them, you know? So I thought it was a great idea. Just make sure you get the mats that have the backing to them, you know, so that there's a little space, and then you just kind of slide the photo in there, you know.
Oh, I just looked up on Amazon. 30 mats, 8x10 mats, $26.
Wow,
I mean,
can't beat that. Holy cow, you know.
think of that display you just showed about. Think about how nice that would be if you were a photographer at the Milford Oyster Festival. I mean, you walk by, I'm always attracted to photos, but the way they've got them laid out, you know, this thing would be great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know.
Good find.
Yeah. And then what I would suggest is, you know, as you print them, add that into its own private little collection. And then after a while, you have 50 images, put it in a book. Okay. All right. Well, it was a great discussion on printing, and that was awesome. We got some cool ideas. So,
I think that's cool.
yeah. So once again, guys, I really appreciate you hanging out with me. A little bit different today than our normal class. We'll pick it up. Maybe what I'll do is next week I'll actually do what I was supposed to do today. You know, so we'll see. What I'm going to do is I am going to invite Bill and Al to share what images they got from the eclipse. So we'll get to see what they put together.
Yeah.
So, because
Yeah,
you guys,
I like that idea. I like that idea of a wall.
yeah.
I have a wall there with 2 different walls at 7 foot, 6 foot. I think I'm going to do that.
Uh-oh, Bob's got a project.
Hey,
There you go.
Hey.
Yeah.
1 year the grandchildren, change them around.
There. Yeah.
Comedy ones.
Yeah.
But I have the printers. I have the printer of an Epson printer, so it's not going to cost. It's going to
Oh,
cost me nothing.
perfect.
And it's this guy was my financial planner, and he moved away. He didn't want a printer. He gave me a printer that prints 16 colors. And
Wow.
I found a place where I can get the ink dirt cheap.
Yeah.
I've been reloading it, except there's one color I couldn't do. They said you have to buy it. You had to buy a separate cartridge, and then you can use that one with their colors. You couldn't mix them.
Oh, gotcha.
But it works
Yeah.
fine. I mean, $100 that I've been printing for
Hey,
4 years.
can't go wrong. And Epson printers are really, really good. They are really good printers.
But I found that that was inexpensive. It was some lab out of New York. I got
Mm-hmm.
8 ounces of all the colors, and I haven't run out of them yet.
Wow.
And I've been doing a lot of print.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you got your project.
Now I gotta figure out Especially going to put up.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. All right, guys, I'll let you get going.
Okay.
We will
Good
see
night.
you next Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Okay.
Okay? All right,
Okay.
guys, stay
Bye.
safe in the meantime.
Okay.
Thank you for watching Learning Photography with Duck. Brought to you in association with Milford Photo, your local full-service camera store. Located in downtown Milford, Connecticut, Milford Photo offers you a personalized shopping experience. From the latest camera gear to printing and framing services. And, of course, educational workshops to teach you the finer aspects of photography. Don't forget to tell them Duck sent you.